哎，大家好哈，来到有系统的这个直播。我们现在在直播的是极乐 Disco 哈，Disco Elysium 极乐 Disco。我们继续啊，我们现在就是马上要把这个工人叫醒。这个游戏是可以用 SL 大法的哈。还有一个重点是说，我们现在的这个士气啊太低了，必须要注意好。这个必须要去买一个镁片啊！我现在怎么会有6块多啊？啊，把他叫醒了。
The worker is in a deep slumber.
强健身体啊，看一下啊，强健身体的话，我们有强健身体了啊。我不是有强健身体了吗？那我带这个会，强健身体加1了吗？对不对？强健身体3。好呀，我是不是可以？我这个可不可以让我强健身体啊？看有什么东西可以让我强健身体的啊？哎，哎，谁？fuck，怎么强健身体变难啊？要管他啦，试试看吧。
The worker is in a deep slumber. The worker continues to nap.
哦，我怎么记得我那个之前好像还蛮容易的，怎么变难啊？
The worker is in a deep slumber. There is only one way to wake this bone idol from his slumber.
Why the yelling, man?
Looks like a Sao descendant. A lot of Sao dock workers around.
Sir，
Wait, what? No, he was just sleeping. What do you want, officer?
Sir， 野松。
That's the name of my employer. I work in logistics.
野松是不是？
How's it going? Haven't you noticed what's going on outside? Good. We're in the middle of a strike down at the harbor, trying to force some sense into the executive board of Wild Pines.
野松公司这个码头公司就是野松公司吗？那码头工人工会这个啊，
For one, I get you some more shut-eye in the mornings. Right to work, right to sleep, I say. Thank God, no. Brilliant. Nate got it. Mazaret's got it. He's guarding the gate. Or just getting some sleep. Or was. We are the workers, the union. We know what we need. What's right for us.
码头工人工会哈是组织罢工的，然后还有一群是想要工作的哈，然后还有这个野松公司啊，本身是野松公司，松野嘛。
Okay, I guess there's also Everard.
Everard.
He's in charge of the union. He's smart, knows how to negotiate. He's got our back. Yeah, what about it? You know, people die here every day. Someone's found in a ditch, another one falls in a manhole, a third one gets eaten by stray dogs.
Ditch.
If someone has decided to die on top of a tree, then how is it my concern?
It's not my business.
I can tell you this. Trouble's ahead. You heard what I said. Draw your own conclusions. That's all I know, and I prefer to keep it this way.
The lieutenant gives you a little nod, then makes a note in his blue notebook.
Indeed. Help yourself to some. Wait. No. Oh, it's empty. Sorry about that, pal. Yeah, what about it? You know, people, if someone has decided to die on top of a tree, if you get lucky, I might even have answers for them. Yeah, what about it? You know, if someone has decided to die on top, I can tell you. You heard what I said.
The lieutenant gives you a little nod. The dock worker doesn't answer. His head is already back.
好吧，这个人可不可以讲话啊？呢？
Can I help you?
Another thing. Great. I love.
Yes?
没有新的是不是？
Yes?
我不是要跟你讲话。
The man ponders his cooking utensils and gives you a little nod, acknowledging your presence. He looks up at you, then looks away quickly, shrugging and muttering something to himself. Shrugging is an international sign for, no, I don't know what's behind that door.
Hello again, sweetie.
没什么啦。来看一下哈，到底
Hello again, office. Of course. There's the pier, the Cape Side apartment buildings, some more tenements. Not a lot, really. The harbor gates, some kind of commotion, I think. I don't follow the local politics. A fleet store too. Some shops and a bridge. The canal bridge leads to the coast, but it's broken, I think. Some kind of accident, probably. Just coast. There's a little fishing village there, and a fish market. But that got closed down ages ago.
OK， 那我从西边啊哈，西边。
It's just water. No, actually, I think they call it the Martinez Inlet. There are some islands in the bay, but they're hard to reach. What do you mean? Yes, sir. District of Martinez. This intersection is called Roundabout North.
He knows where we are. He just wants directions.
No problem.
She's very well composed. Back straight.
呀妈，我要赶快升级。我买一个镁片好不好？
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with.
Okay, here. I hope St. Batiste makes you feel better or something.
"我充了没？好了没？先进的种族主义。啊，咦嘞？你现在就往西边去啊！看起来我们能走的就是这里啊。这么晚上了。 这边可以走啊。
Whoa. What have we here? A bridge with loose nails and rotten-fisted wood that creaks in the wind. A construction code violation if there ever was one.
True, they never cleaned up the war damage. The rest of Relachel looks better, though. The bridge is fine enough. Locals use it all the time, after all. It's nothing to worry about. Shall we?
What?
Hey, up here, Piggo.
Yes?
有个女孩在剥油漆。
Yeah, you better keep walking.
"这有门啊！哎呀，好干！我干嘛还买镁片？那就有了。 跟他讲话啊。
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Silk
Good
scarf.
evening, officers. I'm Joyce.
Joyce.
Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM.
Joyce 野松公司啊。
Peyton, my maiden name. Nothing, honestly. I've said it to every drunk in town, and you're the first one who's responded.
Relax. She meant it in jest.
I'm glad to see you here.
手心冰冷。
Like steel. There is strength there. If she wanted, she could sink her nails deep into your skin.
这个女的是不是会买我的枪啊？因为有一个是买我，买我枪是一个女的，但是她应该是长得非常奇怪，因为以至于那个当铺老板完全不想要看到这个女的哈，应该不是她。
I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
It happens quicker than a shooting star. But did the lieutenant just wink at you?
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines Group.
OK， 野松公司。
Why, yes I am. The boat? No. It is called Cordelati 19 because that's the type of sloop it is.
Sloop.
My sloop? I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around? Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou.
Technically, the neighboring Ozone and Fas Alamer island groups are archipelagos, while La Caillou, by contrast, is a single fertile landmass, the fourth largest island in the world. It is not an archipelago.
卡尤岛不是一个群岛啊。
Okay, if you want to get technical, the point is we're all on islands here, and sail is still the most expedient way to get from one island to another, especially when you're in a hurry to resolve a strike.
Expedient 权宜之计。
She nods attentively.
Good. What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
The Pines' core competency is logistics. container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
OK， 一个是运货了哈，一个是负责能量的。
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo tribes remain. Son-Baptiste, LUM, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
Why, thank you. I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
Wow.
$20 billion is a large number, but the conglomerate employs 72,000 people. They all need to be paid. Then there are capital improvements, interest payments. A conglomerate the size of the Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It's a tremendous responsibility. They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Easterlers 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lomantang on behalf of the suzerain. Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it. You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that.
宗主国 suzerain.
You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
Cog 是小齿轮 ，hiccup 是那个打嗝啊，出现一个小小的打嗝呢，就会这个啊，这
Everything, right up to, but not including, trade secrets. First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Elements. That gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus.
repeal.
The octopus that straddles Revachol, the Emergencies Act, is the cornerstone of post-war Revachol, inseparable from the world it created.
Why? By throwing off half a century of foreign domination under the Coalition. Unfortunately for you, the Coalition also leases you the right to police West Revachol.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, in other words.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike. I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
OK， 跑腿的啊。
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place.
Wait, she just admitted that the lynching and the strike are connected.
Yes.
Now they won't even let me into the harbor. There's a 2-meter 20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
就是那个什么侧脸呐，那个侧颅的那个家伙啊，2尺2，种族主义哈。OK， 这个罢工哈，跟这个私刑一定是有关啦。私刑这个。发生这个案件之后呢，这个谈判就中断了。
Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
3周之前。
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
"工会的领袖不是什么艾弗森什么的啊，什么克雷尔。OK。
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens, no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Aggressive, rapid， 不是，radiant.
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Midget.
Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes. Every worker, a member of the board.
狗屁呀、每个工人都是董事会议员。
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker a member of the board. It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about what? About anything really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
哈，这太荒唐了。
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group. That may well be. It's not up to me to decide who is king, but as negotiations go, it's not a swell start. I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position, a hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again.
Yes.
And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags, a disastrous situation if there ever was one.
这个是野松公司的一个警卫，或者说野松公司的一个那个佣兵哈。 被人家干掉了，然后被工会的人干掉了。这个工会人就是这些在罢工的人啊。
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
Lynch.
I first heard it from the boyar at the gates, the one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was "Call me mañana."
Marina. 大门边的暴徒，玛丽娜。
This checks out. No, wait. The chief negotiator heard it from a man at the gates. Surely the Wild Pines group has more effective channels of information. After all, 2,200 people are on strike. This is a big deal for them.
大门附近的公贼，工会的贼吗？对，这是公贼，就是说他们要上班的那一群人啊。
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrog, come to plead for work where the union refuses to?
加姆洛克。
Don't let her answer it herself.
If these strikebreakers were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not yet, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
OK 啊。
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
OK， 这个叫做克雷尔的是艾佛森哈，艾佛森克雷尔。
Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
If you were to prick it with something sharp, you could see it oozing out. A knife, maybe? No, a rapier.
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Edgar Vino.
Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over.
这太好笑了吧！
It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that.
这个工会叫做装卸工会啊。
Organized labor at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
犯罪集团嘛，是一个黑帮啦。
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother.
Okay.
And your opinion, Detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is...
基本上是工人主义黑帮。
Thank you for being candid. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the wolf always hungers.
20年了，这个你工会跟这个打交道20年了。
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
This forewoman, her name?
Sadly, the company records do not even give a name. She's just forewoman in private correspondence, Holly. I don't even know if it's a sir or given name, and I don't have access to the Union's files.
Holly.
Downright haunting, if you ask me. The Wild Pines suspected foul play, but what could they do? It was a Union matter.
Holly.
The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help?
他手冰冷啊，哈。
Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
哈哈。
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge at the moment.
How curious. Why is that, Detective? I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode? I can't hear you, darling. Speak up, please. Oh dear. Some kind of encephalopathic amnesia. I don't even know how to respond.
Amnesia.
I do believe you, naive as that may sound. I simply can't imagine what you gain by faking such a condition.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
"循循善诱，靠腰啊！循循善诱啊！啊！什么东西呀？你继续啊，研究吧。继续研究吧。Joyce， 循循善诱。我们来看一下我们的装备哈。
Of course. But before we do, officers, let me be perfectly clear. The situation is extremely volatile. The sooner we can speak about this lynching business, the better for all of us. This reality.
Yes, reality is your side case. An experimental side case.
How truly curious. A sort of philosopher detective.
Are they now?
A deep synthesis. I'll assist you however I can then. Go ahead. Ask.
OK， 他就是有钱人啊，所以说我就是要继续问那些关于这个一些那个什么的事情啊，就是关于这历史事
All
情。
right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
We're in Martinez, baby. Martinez is a district of Revachol. A very small district tucked away near the industrial harbour, north of the 881 and Jamrock.
OK， 这个 Revachol 是比较大的地区啊，这个里面的其中一个地区呢，才是马德里斯啊。
You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten even. Shelled to smithereens during the revolution. It has its charms, just not this time of year. I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds. boys with boxy shoulders. This place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. The further down the coast, the wilder it gets. It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol, and the bay feeds into the ocean. Yes, we're on an island in an ocean, the world's largest body of water, the Insulindic.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the Blue Immensities.
无限之蓝。
Caillou, as you already know. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the river Esperance. We're in the delta of this river, on the 6th branch, the Martinez distributary. Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city.
City 里面的其中一个区叫做马丁尼斯啊，就像是我这个台北里面有内湖啊，有士林这样子，大概是这样的一个概念。
The great kind. History detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries.
现在有点晚上了，它开灯了啊。
The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile Marat, depending on your creed. In the DeLorean century, 380 years ago. They say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is.
Oh,
we're quite a way off. About...
A sparkle of lights on the horizon, like evening stars above the curvature of the planet.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom. Coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Coalition government.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember something about a lowdown.
Lowdown.看研究时间。我可以加吗？不能啊。我剩下再加5点，我就可以升级了啊！加油，赶快跟他对话啊！
This has been informative. Thank you, man. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner has many more questions to ask, about even more fundamental aspects of reality. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Madame Messier will be here later too, and tomorrow. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
Oh, of course not. You are already diligent for getting this far, and diligent boys remember where they left off.
Indeed. I'm always at your service. These are unimportant times, Detective. You and I were born after the dust had settled. 1,000th of a second too late. For the big time.
这个女人怎么好像有点内涵啊？
The revolution. It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next, who gets shot in the head, and who gets the mineral rights. It's a real kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle.
Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head. Oh, and the anarchists too. They shot them well. So well, one forgets they even existed. Did they ever? Before they got shot themselves, they shot 2 million people.
Yeah, it was a kerfuffle, all right.
Yes, the Insulindian deluge, they call it.
Cylindian blood.
Oh, lots of people. Even the king got shot in the head, or thrown beneath a horse, or drowned. Accounts differ. It was unceremonious. Just as well, he wasn't actually the king. Just the king's nephew. The real king abdicated and lived out a long and productive life as a venture capitalist in Grad. I prefer the term risk-averse. King Guillaume was nobody's fool. He could smell a PR disaster brewing, so he got out alive, and his nephew Fricelle got shot in his place. Him and tens of thousands of his wonderfully fascist kingsmen. It was a wild time. The liberals got the mineral rights. And by mineral rights, I mean everything. Liberals are usually middle-class people, Detective, or the remaining gentry, the beneficiaries of the pre-revolutionary arrangement. Some were rich enough to stay with the Constitution, with monarchy. Big mistake. Others bet on the revolution. They were called the ultras, or ultra-liberals. They fared well.
Ultra.
They didn't win so much as survive. We were the last ones standing when the war ended. Everyone else got shot in the head, remember?
We. She's one of them. Of course.
To foreign intervention, the coalition. Those people really took the mineral rights. The liberals took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground. The coalition took the ground. The ocean, the laws, and the people.
Okay. OK，
The Coalition of Nations, Grad, Mesk, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-la-Clay, the armed center of the world. They landed here and ended the revolution. It was the moralist thing to do.
moralist.
The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. They believe in mineral rights and not shooting people in the head. At least not in the same manner and volume as the others do. They are the long-standing provisional rulers of Revachol now, the coalition government.
OK， 现在统治这里的是联邦政府。
This is their zone of control. They embolden the RCM with crumbs of the same law they took. Technically speaking, you are a moralist.
OK，
The color of moralism is blue. The official motto of Moral Intern, or Moralist International, is a blue forget-me-not, a piece of grey sky. Unofficial. For a moment, there was hope.
Of course. Not easy to be moderate about head shooting in your line of work.
Rooty tooty, pointy shooty.
That's the way of history. The turn of the century revolution? Don't answer it. It's a trick question. The revolution began in '02 on the Isla of Grad, though by the end, nearly the whole world had gotten involved. It wasn't a who, but a what. A pandemic of Zarat, a particularly virulent prion disease, which the authorities in Grad proved unable to contain. Then Mazov came along and overthrew the government. It made people overthrow their governments. Of course not. It was a highly infectious microorganism that destroyed brain tissue. The actual causes of the revolution were material. The pandemic only provided the spark.
OK， pandemic provides spark.
It was a funny time in history. They discovered transistors and rock music, but they didn't know anything about prions. Nobody did.
From Revachol and Grad? Not far. The world managed to cauterize itself. Mazov's government was overthrown in '08, and the coalition crushed the Revachol commune 2 years later. It was the end. Why? You and I, officer. Our lives in the zone of control. A city-state divided into free market zones under the everlasting interregnum of the Coalition of Nations. And you, of course, the citizens' militia.
Citizen militia。OK， 这个算是自由区啊，自由区就是联邦在那个统治的啊。
The zone of control is the third incarnation of Revachol, after the failure of the suzerain and the commune.
OK，
Modernity. They developed the marvels of the inter-estuary communication, telematic milieus, radiation, colored plastics. Meanwhile, in Revachol West, the aftermath continues for the 5th decade.
51 minus 8 equals 43.
Hey. OK， OK。
Time flies. The 20s saw a decade of urban war, west of the river leveled, offshore platforms in flames. Still, It's regarded as an improvement on what came before. 08 to 19 was simply hell. The 30s? Things settled down in the 30s. Revachol East transformed itself into the world's largest tax haven, with the international community's blessing. For the first time in a long time, it seemed like things were going somewhere.
OK， 东部哦。
No. It was a market mirage fueled by cocaine and quantitative easing. The 40s dispelled it like a cold splash, an Isla-wide hangover, you might say. And here we are.
OK，
Welcome to reality, baby.
我靠，这个70，经验值70啊！听他
For
讲这故
her
事
to，be where she is, Wild Pines Group must have picked the right side.
They picked the winning side. That's why they're here, and others are not. Perhaps it wouldn't have turned out that way had I been in charge. I might have bet on the king and led the Pines to doom. I would have sided with the cannons. If you'd seen the calibers of the things, you might have too. Perhaps it's better I was born when I was. 10 of the 14 Indo tribes got it wrong. Feld, Kupri, Tricentennial. So I suppose I would have been in good company. Good question. What would you have done differently? And you would have died, most likely. Not far from here. Maybe even right here, during the beachhead, defending the coast the day the Coalition took the city. No, almost certainly. The Commune would have forced you. Such was the fate of the undecided.
差不多这样子啊。
They are what they are. Who knows? An afterbloom may yet come. Anyway, enough sentimentality. Is there anything else you want to know?
Not so fast. Who is she in all this? Ask her who she is. She owes you an answer.
We're in Martinez, baby. Martinez is you would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. I would be happy to. What is a preposterously expensive education for, if not sharing? A bird? A Svenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions? Some sort of krill hunter? No, wait. You're an ancient ruin. A symbol of hubris and decay. Half submerged in some salty sea.
Human.
Of course you're not, my dear. I'm just terrible at guessing games. Ah! This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislaine, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot.
什么东西 ？What？
Or two. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveau. They're old. This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall, a real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course. Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off.
Splat, splat.
干嘛这个？
You could be wrong, but from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
Wonderful. I am the vilest of the vile. A traitor, a devourer of nations and infants.
Devour.
I am an ultra.
She raises the corner of her mouth, smirking, revealing a canine.
Ultra.
An ultra-liberal. It's a type of liberal. From the revolution. It's, not the moderate kind. Yes. I am the nether creature of the Forbidden Swamp. I pushed the king under a shit wagon and betrayed the revolution. My kind surrendered the nation to financial colonists. Perhaps you thought we'd gone extinct. After all, no sane person identifies as an ultra anymore. Not in broad daylight. Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, are you repulsed? A devil, who being of great charm and guile, sneaketh into the homes of the godly. I hope we are able to continue as friends, despite my scaly bulk, and the treacheries committed by my people against the suzerain and the commune. When the dust settled, the liberals were the only ones left to clean up the mess. By virtue of their survival, they were handed enormous power to shape the future. This was all our last generation managed. With due respect to our overlords, the eternal caretaker government that keeps Martinez a monument to the efficacy of its artillery.
Artillery.
I would not have relinquished sovereignty to the Coalition. Not here in Martinez, and not in the Stella Maris or Delta Beachheads either. If not for...
She realizes her small, cold fists are clenched. She loosens them.
Then for my daughters, we had an obligation to defend our sovereignty. We should have burned the whole Isola down rather than let them have it. Yes. Whatever else I am, I'm also a mother and a wife. Now, shall we return to reality? The girl in the old lady rags.
Cindy.
Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture.
Infraculture.
Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture.
Supraculture.
Young people who dye their hair funny colors and wear old people's clothes are stupid, and their little rebellion is self-defeating. All right. What next?
Suddenly, you're not so sure you're part of the supra-culture.
And what would that be?
Disco.
I can see that, yes. I dabbled in those dark arts myself, not so long ago. I assure you, it was a thoroughly supracultural phenomenon. All permeating. Downright mandatory. Nothing infra about disco, baby. Those days are long behind me. And even in the early 30s, I would say I was more of a new girl. Disco was a minor, but still enjoyable facet of the whole thing for me. The new, a cultural era, and the name of the decade it ravished, the 30s. It came out of post-revolutionary Revachol. It was ultra-liberal. It involved lots of partying, as you might imagine, and champagne-colored everything. By the looks of it, that would have been when you came of age. Now, of course, you're much more grounded. A serious detective on a case called Reality. Speaking of, is there anything else? Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Is what you want to say, but it isn't that easy, is it? Look at that lady. Take a gander. Squint your eyes, bub. A well-kept, yet tastefully short bob of dark hair. Despite the first hints of grey, she's elected to keep it au naturel, shaped into a permanent wave. Positively statuesque. While dull orange pearls hang from her earlobes, red from the cold. Her light green eyes scan you, full of knowledge and worry. Wealth and all its possibilities. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say everything is possible.
Okay.
Within reason. Now look at you, you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes. A scythe of booze precedes you. Your hair sticks to your forehead, and your underwear feels uncomfortable. You're poor. Poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too... Yes, you're too ashamed to ask this person for money. Too scared to belittle yourself in her eyes. Those half-precious stones of Odin.
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask. More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything. Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
这个成功率不高啊，意志坚定啊，那就先这样吧。我现在85点啊，我现在试试看升。那等一下。
Of course, detective.
It's clear you like the hard stuff, Bruta. Evening falls. The time has come to take the vow. The vows are blood and flesh. Lower intestine, the term is metabolic and circulatory system. Fascism, Brota. You're going to keep your vooz, right? Keep your vooz, Brota. For the nation, smart. Best not to mention the women issue too often. People are not ready.
什么东西啊？
Advanced race theory. Everything is calm in the eye of the race storm. Your mind is lucid and bright. The mind-bending phylogenetics appear more distant and, to be fair, a little ridiculous. The great race mystery is cleared up. All that's left to do is verbalize your thoughts. Go and talk to Measurehead about your newly found insights.
OK， 我已经学会了这个啊。哦，哦哟，哦，这个要解锁才可以那个多一个新的插槽。这个停止啊，然后我可以装新的，是不是？这个，靠！先存档啊！我靠，搞这是真的也觉得很酷哎！我现在有个点数哈，我可以试试看。可是这没有颜色啊！我还不如这个钢筋铁骨，是不是？我很纳闷的是说，我很纳闷
It's
的
the
是
legend
说
you found in the trash. A cabbage of papers hanging from the board, with the permeables drawer inside. It's barely held together by a clip, then made complete by the faint smell of urinal cleaner.
对，你说我可以这个
Thin, see-through copier paper, mostly neon yellow. The rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for wear.
我现在升级
Being sandwiched between the board and the rest of the paperwork must have
我升
spared
级
the
这个
fragile copier paper.
7点了，7点了，我也可以升级这个，是不是？我也可以升级这个啊。我也可以升级这个，对不对？那我可以升级这个，不能升级这个吗？这前面不能升级。如果升级这个，试试看。那我现在可以了吗？啊，我还可以。哦。我就可以打开这个白色检定了。
Arson, petty theft, spout you don't exactly thin. See, the rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse. Just relax. The two sides of the board are slightly misaligned. The slides snap back into place. It should be possible to just, you know. Without resistance or sound, 2 ticket stubs and a handmade postcard. 2 octopuses are smiling, reaching their tentacles to thin wax paper has been glued to a piece of cardboard. Familiar handwriting lines the inside. A young woman in her 20s. There is care, effort, and a smile. Harry, it begins. You're already reading. Your hand, every step I take, it grows. You kisses, kisses, kisses. You feel the air sucked out of your lungs, and the blood sparks fall like snow from the bow collector. You feel the ledger slip from your hand. No, hold on. To what?
Detective.
怎么样啊？死了吗？死了！啊，什么东西呀？读取进度啊！神经病，我怎么死了嘞？啊！好了，我现在有个技能点数哦，我干脆冲这个好了。我冲这个好不好？钢铁筋骨。要怎么上去啊？
The streets will flow red once more. A great torrent rushing down Rue d'Espérance. You wait and see.
可以啊，干嘛？这是什么 bug 吗？神经病，这是什么东西？啊！不要管它啦。为什么有 bug 嘞？
There is nothing. Again. Nothing sad, brother. No treachery. Just blackout.
靠！什么东西啊？这有 bug 啊！我现在已经，我还没有钢铁筋骨哎。不想要管那个了。哎，我可以走到这后面来耶！我靠！今天已经快要睡觉的时间了，是不是9点就要睡了嘛？我想要赌一把。
There he still is, looking right through you. With his white eyes, the body below is entirely dedicated to that corpse smell. Emitting it is all it does now.
我现在28了。钢铁筋骨3哦。
There he still is, looking right. You crack open the ammonia ampoule.
检定成功了哎。
The odor of death is still stronger. It's a spell of the mind telling you to run, and your stomach to wring itself empty. With your eyes squinting, you stand in it.
我靠！
It's a puzzle. What's hanging in front of you is a puzzle of decaying flesh, tattoos, and tendons. This delicate machine, ready for picking. Instinctively, you crack your fingers.
They do after 7 days, yes. We are deep in decomposition here.
The man before you is naked, but for a pair of underpants and enameled boots. His skin is greenish, marbled with decaying veins and blotched by lividity. A fading web of tattoos covers his chest and shoulders. The cargo belt used to fasten him to the branch above appears industrial in strength.
他身上有刺青啊，然后他这个货运的绑带把它固定到树上哈，强度是工业等级的哈，就是我们这个野生物流啊。他有穿内裤啦哈，他有穿内裤，然后还有一些靴子啊。
The material appears to be ceramic. Its clean white stands in stark contrast to the decaying flesh above the knee. The man wore thick polymer socks, probably for padding. A fine array of interlocking plates covers them.
很奇怪的装束哎。
Delicate and fragile, they feel alien to the world around you, out of place somehow. These are clearly not boots. They're armor, possibly part of a larger set.
对啊，看起来不像什么靴子啊，那看起来像是盔甲啊。
Indeed. Technically speaking, these are sabatons, not boots.
假靴，不是一般的靴子。
Oh, the lieutenant uses a memo technique, A6. That's not just any notebook. It's a classic. It's clearly some manner of super armor, or future armor. Super future armor? I'm useless.
Ceramic plate. Zirconium dioxide, most likely. This is where the make would be. Under the hill. Fair weather. Fair weather model T500 VE. I'm guessing that's vitreous enamel. This is advanced stuff.
Okay.
Piece by piece. He's been out here for 7 days. It would be odd if they didn't. We should keep a lookout for these species. The armor could yield information. This is one thing he might actually know.
The sabatons dangle off the man's decaying form, ageless and synthetic.
It is. It's expensive. We've requested similar material for our tactical units for years now. The constabularies deemed it too costly. In that time, we've lost 6 men to semi-automatics. For a full set, about 4 years of wages.
Okay.
For the northwest region of Revachol, an officer's average yearly income is 5,500 real, unadjusted for rank.
Not too much, yes. It's a sorry situation, I agree. Piece by piece, we should keep a lookout for these species. The armor? No, I think he had something precious underneath the clothes. They had to remove the jeans and shirt we found to get to it. And this kind of armor is often worn under fabrics.
Nice. That makes sense.
好吧。OK 啊，这些盔甲可能都是穿在衣服下面的啊，所以说他为了要在这盔甲里面呢找到有用的东西呢，就把衣服拿掉了，是这个意思啊。
They usually hang them completely naked for that. La puta madre, the Mazda, the Besmerties and the like. This one still has his underpants.
Fucking talking about underpants.
Clearly, Kuno would like to interject something here, but there's not enough for him to hold on to.
神经病，这个小孩怎么还在这啊？你晚上就要回家了啦。
That's for us to find out. Mr. Gart implied he was security personnel for the harbor company. This confirms my own assumptions.
港口公司的，就物流公司吧。
Just something I scraped together from my station. An area report on Martinez. I'm sure you did the same. I agree. This equipment is way beyond what a guard can afford.
A small bell-like sound fills the air, like tapping on the side of a porcelain cup.
It's anything but. This material is a kinetic redistributor. It spreads kinetic energy horizontally, from plate to plate, dissipating it entirely. See?
Faint, organic lines cover the plates where they separate into smaller ones. These plates then divide into smaller plates until there are hundreds of them altogether, like whirls of floorboards. The design looks organic, influenced by highly resistant wood materials, like lignum vitae and ebony perhaps. If trees were made of porcelain, this is what their cross-sections would look like. The smooth, glossy surface fractures into ever more intricate interconnections, peaking on the right sabaton, where you notice. The whirls are in the shape of a letter and number combination, E50, 100, 1000.
Good. Can you read it to me?
X5415 6745 678222.
说什么小话？
That doesn't sound like a serial number. Where's the structure and logic of a line of manufactured products? Well, no matter. We should run it anyway.
True, it didn't have the cadence and logic of a real manufactured item.
Officer, the decomposing corpse has temporarily suspended my sense of humor. Let's continue in a less playful manner. Anyway. We have a make and a number. That's something. We can use the radio in my kinema when we're done. Either station can chase it for us.
The stench fills your nostrils. As you push downward, an ominous creaking sound comes from above.
Stop! think he's gonna pull his head off?
Brutal!
Even the mongrels can see you're about to pull his head off.
Do it, homo!
Pull his head off. There's no point performing an autopsy if you do. We'll have compromised the coroner's case.
Indeed, from this angle, it does look like the neck isn't going to take much more. Being dead for a week has all but liquefied his muscles.
What are you trying to achieve anyway? Why are you hanging on to that boot? How many clues do you need? You already found a number. Besides, there's no way you're getting them off. All the organic matter in his body has been flowing down into the boots. They are fused to his feet now. Why do you think the locals haven't scavenged them yet?
You're sure there's a way to peel them off, but first the body needs to be down. And second, it would probably be better if the lieutenant wasn't around. The anticipation makes you crack your fingers. Feels nice. Nice and cracky.
Processing will take care of them. With the situation in the morgue, it will yield nothing. But we must pick our fights. Should we continue?
The cadaver slowly twists on the cargo belt, his torso covered in tattoos, and extremities blotched pink and blue.
Pink blue, pink and blue 吧，粉跟蓝吧。
The hangman's knot is pulled tight by the weight of the corpse below. Yellow, hard-edged polyester cuts into his neck. Above, a sliding buckle ties the belt to the branch. This is a steel-reinforced cargo lashing belt, big brother of the regular cargo belt. It's used for tying cargo under 6-rotor airships.
Airlifting. I thought it was used on lorries for strapping cargo to them.
空运的。
The local harbor uses 6 rotors to shuffle containers around. I get the sense they use whatever was on hand without paying much attention to not incriminating themselves.
看一下啊，哎，那个啦，永恒之城啊，对，永恒之城，这个可以白色检定啊，我可以再把那个，我就等一下我等一下要升的是这个无感的，我升这个无感，我就可以再次白色检定的啦，应该是啊，应该是没错。 不是说升了一级就可以一直挑战，而是你去点一个点，你可以挑战一次。对，所以说来搞他的，是都当地的这个港口运送的。
I'm still approaching this as a lynching, yes. Motivated by the ongoing strike. You? 70% of the cases I get are just filling in the blanks on the initial report. This belt worries me. I was afraid it would be. Thin steel wiring, parallel strands. This makes getting him down more problematic than I had assumed. A noose is one of those things that's easier to use one way around.
套索。
That ladder can't carry a grown man. I didn't see any splintering either, did you? I think they lassoed the branch, then pulled on the belt to close the buckle.
对，也有可能啊。另外一个可能是说，他找了一个小孩爬上去，把这个东西扣在上面，然后丢下来。另外一个是说，这个我们的助手推测是说，我的助手推测说是用 lasso， 就是用套索。
Could be. The shape of the branch supports the theory.
OK， 他说这个树枝的这个形状呢，验证了这一点。
The cadaver hangs from the cargo belt, limbs limp and torso covered in tattoos. An intricate web of blue lines stretches across the torso, from the right shoulder to the solar plexus. Each time they intersect, a small white star is formed in their crossing. Hundreds of fading asterisks riddle his skin. Their concentration is highest around his heart.
A map of the stars. I do see some similarity to astronomical charts. Great Century Messinian, maybe. But this seems more particular.
As if someone left out most of the night sky, filtering it through personal choice. The principle of this filter remains unknown to you. The thought dissipates, and you feel as though you were only half right.
So am I.
He wears a wide leather belt around his waist and a gun holster under his arm. He takes a thin piece of milled aluminium from his coat pocket and pulls it open. Sounds like a sword being unsheathed. A small lens appears, some sort of camera.
A Trigger Sunshine Mini.
Triggered is the world's leading manufacturer of intercommunication devices, primarily projectors. The camera before you looks familiar somehow.
Shit, Kuno! What the fuck?
An instant color camera. I have only 2 ampoules, so nobody move. I don't want to waste one.
A sound, a shrill flash, followed by the breaking of a small ampoule of glass. You see streams of color pour onto the thick, glossy piece of paper, rolling out.
我靠，真的啊！
In case we need it. Yes, it is pretty cool, isn't it?
There is only one ampoule left. Use it wisely.
It contains insight to the victim's person. By his build, I'd say this was a man of physical violence. The story he wanted his body to tell was important to him. It is his letter, to us. Someone should decipher it. We'll need to show it around. Sure, just don't lose it.
The glossy-eyed corpse looks by, his mouth mute and his skin as colorful as the chemical rainbow on the photo paper, teeming with opportunistic organisms. His eyes are milky white and blind to the world, protruding comically from their sockets. There is no one home, just subaquatic terrors there. Dark brown hair grows on his head. His face is ready to explode from the organic processes inside. The death's head grin has passed. What remains is an unrecognizable mess.
内陆帝国，我很奇怪的是，我没有看到那个有内陆帝国，靠，真的有内陆帝国，这是内陆帝。
The corpse looks right through you as you distance yourself from its stench, eyes like a shark. As you narrow your eyes, the monster before you blurs into a violent mess of green and pink. This is a trick. You've done it before. Pink is where the blood settled in the first hours post-mortem. You can use it to see if the corpse has been tampered with. Does his position at the time of death match the discoloration?
Pause it. 观察。
Only the lower extremities are pink with a dash of blue. His fatted hands, thighs, and his neck, just above the noose. The rest of the corpse appears dark green in the cold spring air.
脸部、手部粉红色，大腿也是。
I see it. His neck too. The lividity goes right up his chin. We have good, well-pronounced discoloration here.
The monster comes back into focus, an explosion of color, coursing with dark marbled veins. His stomach appears pregnant with something. Black liquid streams down his thigh and onto his boot.
So, what do you think? Agreed, especially on the neck. The belt acted like a tourniquet, keeping the blood in his head. The hypostasis supports a hanging.
Okay.
You would still like the hypostasis marks in the neck to be a bit more pronounced.
Hypothesis. Hypothesis 假设。
Maybe it looks faint to you? It could be more pronounced, actually. Dûment noté. Yes, there's always a chance we are wrong. We should check for ligament marks on his neck to see if they're in tune with the belt. We'll have to get him down first. I do. Most of them are post-mortem. Maybe even all of them. The delinquents have made our jobs harder with their little sport.
Post-mortem.
Stop talking in riddles, coin slot.
It means you fucked him up good, Kuno. Fucked him up brutal like.
I agree.
His personality is no longer a part of the world.
Totally dead.
废话。
That sounds about right, yes.
But there is no breath to catch. Only the cadaver filling the air and your nostrils. He slowly rotates before you, decomposing.
Are you sure we finished the preliminary examination of the cadaver? We might miss some of these things once he's done.
The cadaver slowly twists on the cargo belt, his torso covered in tattoos, and extremities blotched pink and blue.
看，我现在升级内陆帝国是不是？啊，直接升吗？啊，先离开。我储存啊，储存啊。我现在看一下哈，这个东西。
An inconspicuous pile of the roofing material, Eternite.
你看，我现在没办法开这个啊，但是我现在如果去把五感加了一次，升级一次，我就可以再挑战了。
An inconspicuous pile, because it's nice and orderly. Well-laid rhythmic pattern.
读取进度啊。我现在把这个打开，升级啊。
An inconspicuous pile of the because there's a secret door hidden behind the panels of Eternite. That's why they're too. There it is. You see a shabby little door.
打开了一个门啊。
What is this then? A tool shed? Let's investigate.
好，我们可以进去啊，这再说啦。现在我们是要把它放下来，还是不要放下来啊？这是一个东西啊，存档一下啊。我来赌一下好了。
The man before you is naked, but for the lips of the corpse are.
Who is he?
读取进度。
The man before you is naked.
The steel reinforced belt presents a unique challenge. I brought chain cutters, but I don't see a good angle of approach to the belt.
He doesn't actually think the challenge is unique. He thinks it's frustrating, annoying, and harder than he thought.
The cadaver is a good 1.2 meters up. Neither one of us can reach the belt without assistance. And even if we do, there's the question of cutting the airship strength material.
OK， 现在就是要看怎么把它放下来了哦。我现在经验值看85，我是不是应该把内陆帝国给内陆帝国？内陆帝国有什么道具可以增加内陆帝国啊？内陆帝国，内陆帝国有恐怖领带增加是内陆帝国吗？我有什么这个什么力量是可以内陆帝国的？ 好吧，先到这里哈，先到这里啦。内陆帝国。85点来内陆帝国。无线电哈。OK OK。OK， 我应该先去问这个盔甲，然后用无线电啊，这样子应该可以。我可以再得到一个点数，把内陆帝国给点起来。啊，最起码现在这个门被我打开。哦，干，那怎么有猪头啊？我靠，还可以上来哦！哦，还可以上去哦！
Be still, my beating heart. It's amphetamine, sweet amphetamine. The lieutenant isn't studying the powder in the mirror. He's studying you. There's a good, vague way to ask where he stands on drug use. Professionally, I mean.
Perhaps not. This is below our pay grade, detective. However, see that ladder there? It's probably another way into the industrial harbor, no? A secret path the local kids use.
OK 啊。好吧，就先这样吧。